live review of street food.
I am not going to eat and do a live stream at the same time. And I think I'm live. Yes, it says I'm live. Hopefully, I'm live on the stream that I'm supposed to be on live. And I don't know how Johan has set this up. So, hi, Mom. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to be here. We had been hanging out with friends and got away from them later than we'd planned, took the long way home, and long story short, walked through the door about 3 minutes ago. So, this was supposed to be a stream of me making black bread. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me. Um, it's always promising. This was supposed to be a stream about making black bread, but unfortunately, I did not get the rye flour in time. Amazon pulled a flub on me. So, between having hung out with friends and not having the flour ready to roll for making bread, I will try that again some other time, or perhaps we'll do a static video. And I pulled the microphone over closer to me. You probably can see it a little bit in the thing. But yes, Julian. Actually, smoked bread might be interesting. I had wanted a wood-fired. Oh, yay! I'm so glad to hear that. Wood-fired cob oven, and I just found out that my uncle is going to buy an acre of land from my mom and move there to be near her, and I'm very happy about this because mom could use the help, Uncle Doug could use the help, and it makes me feel less guilty for having moved so far away. So, no, I'm really, really happy. That's great news. Should be fun to see that project as the house gets built and everything goes down there. So happily that'll all go smoothly. Um, so yeah, my Russian black bread involves dark rye flour, but that by itself doesn't make the bread black. What makes the bread black, at least for the recipe I use, is baking cocoa. And cocoa powder is not sweet, nor in the quantity that I use it to color the bread does it really taste like chocolate. So with the rye in there, the cocoa, the bitterness of it actually blends in nicely. Um, and it comes out this lovely, rich, deep, deep brown. Not pure black, but then again, it's like black roses. They're not real black either. Um, and it's a lovely dense bread. My plan was to start the dough tonight on the live stream, which I'm not going to do now. But it was to start it tonight and then to actually let it rise overnight. Yeah, I think my recipe also calls for instant coffee, which I don't currently have, but I do have espresso powder. So again, you wind up with a bread that has a bitterness, but the sweetness of the flowers offset it. And I had gone ahead and gotten caraway seeds as well, which I hadn't done a nice, rich, seeded bread in quite a while. My ex wanted white bread, nothing in it, just white. So for years, when I made bread, I was just making a plain white bread, nothing going on. And then a couple of weeks ago, when I was making food and taking it to friends, I had a whim that I was going to make bread with flavor because I really wanted it. I really had a craving for this bread. And what I wound up doing, because that's when I realized I didn't have any rye flour, is I did a beer and mustard loaf. And I'd usually put in a single cup of rye flour in with 3 cups of regular flour, and a nice dark grainy brown mustard and a flat beer. Um, and I think I also put an egg in there. But anyhow, this bread was weird because I didn't have rye flour, but I did have buckwheat flour. So I wound up doing a golden ale and this sweet grainy mustard, which was a little different, but the bread came out really nicely. So, um, and I had fennel seeds and I threw in dill and I don't remember what else I threw in there. But basically, I wanted bread with flavor and it came out so good. And then we were talking about Russian black bread, and that got me jonesing for that. So I will be making that tomorrow. I had intended to let it prove overnight, either in the refrigerator or just leave it out. I'm happy Juniper is happy. Love you, Juniper. My intent was to prove the bread overnight because this makes this really dense bread, and it has to rise forever and a day or it's just impossibly dense. It's like a brick. I can, however, do the warm oven trick with it. I've done that in the past. So tomorrow's plan is to start the tamale project. And because my friend called me halfway home, I'm going to retrieve my iPad because I left my purse with the iPad in it at her house. So we will get to see each other again tomorrow because I can't remember anything. It's a good thing my head is attached. Tomorrow with the tamale project, because I'll finish it Sunday, and then we're meeting up with friends for dinner on Sunday. But I plan to get the pork cooked and ready to be pulled and start the red chili sauce. And because I'm starting with dried peppers, ancho peppers I have that I bought about a year ago intending to use for something and never did. So this is a perfect opportunity to. I have some nice boneless pork I picked up. Actually, I picked up 12 pounds of it. I'm not cooking all of that for this. I'll cook 3 or 4 pounds. And Mom, it's about an hour and a half drive if we take the back roads, which we will, because Sanford and I were already talking about taking a nice ramble drive tomorrow while the pork was doing its slow cook to be ready to pull. So we'll just go in a different direction than we'd planned on. And there's a really nice bakery / cheese shop / looks interesting about halfway between our places, and we figured that out today. So we're planning a stop at Eatzi's. It's EATZI, and it's Eatzi's Eatery or something. It's Eatzi's, and there's one in Plano, Texas, and that's where we'll be stopping in tomorrow. It looks like, from the pictures on the website, it looks like it's going to be right up our alley. So, yeah, I don't know if Eatzi's will be open on New Year's Day. I forgot it was New Year's Day. There are times I'm just like, I set things down and they cease to exist for me. This is why if I ever design my own kitchen, it won't have any doors on the cupboards because I put things behind closed doors and I forget they exist. But I made it home in time for the live stream so I could talk to you all, even if I can't make bread. Amazon was supposed to deliver my package yesterday, and according to the tracking, it got loaded on the truck. And then about 10 o'clock in the morning, it got loaded on the truck. And then about 7:30 at night, it got loaded off the truck where it had started instead of to me. So I don't know what happened there, but they kept saying it was delayed. And then it said it would be delivered today. And I was like, really? Is it really? And so we showed up and the packages were here, but they had just gotten here. So we at least have the flour. But yeah, no. And I mean, today was this cold, rainy. Well, actually, it wasn't cold. My body is beginning to adjust to Texas, evidently. So it wasn't that cold out there. It was maybe 70, but it was raining, and I think that made me feel like it was cold. Oh. So I got to do something for the first time today. I rode. I can't say I rode on a motorcycle. I sat on a motorcycle, but what I got to ride in was a sidecar. So my friend's husband pulled he's got a Ural, which if you look it up, it's like a World War II motorcycle, little tiny skinny thing, with a really cool little sidecar, the one that looks like a little boot. And so I got to go for a ride in the sidecar. And my friend's motorcycle helmet fits me, so I was properly garbed. And that was blast. I mean, it was raining, and rain at 55, 60 miles an hour really tingles when it hits your cheeks. Because it wasn't a full face helmet. It had a visor that came down and protected my glasses. Because we were both trying to figure out if we were worried about windstream pulling the glasses off. So that was really fun. Sanford has talked for years about getting a motorcycle with a sidecar so that I could go out with him because I am scared of just riding on a motorcycle. I grew up riding horses, but horses have their own stabilizing system. And my sense of balance is not that good. And even though they keep telling me that I'm not going to manage to tip over the driver of the motorcycle, I, the sidecar was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and I would definitely do that again. Although, since coming here, Sanford has said he's not getting a motorcycle as long as we live in the city. In the first 3 weeks that he was here and actually living here, there were 3 motorcycle fatalities within about 5 miles of where we live. It is really bad here, so he's not comfortable riding in these conditions, and I'm not comfortable with him riding in these conditions. So the motorcycle with the sidecar as a maybe someday. So it was still a cool experience, and I'm glad I got to do it. Yeah, no, it was nice to have the day off and to have the 3-day weekend. And I wasn't planning on doing a huge amount this weekend, seeing friends, cooking. So it's good. I mean, we're going to do a ramble tomorrow to retrieve my purse, and we'll also get out in the country a little bit, which we haven't done a whole lot of since we have been together down here. And I wasn't really in the mood to do it without him. So that'll be really nice to get out and just kind of roam around with him. And it shouldn't be raining tomorrow. So I hope that the storm will have passed over, or weather, I should say. It's not really a storm. It's very calm rain. It's just kind of falling. This morning before it started raining, it was foggy and really damp, and honestly it reminded me a little bit of the Oregon coast. It was almost like smells like not quite that it smelled like the ocean, but it felt that way, and you could smell the fog, and then it started to rain. But it reminded me of the Oregon coast, which is hilarious because that's a couple of times now that since I've been to Texas, it has reminded me strongly of the Pacific Northwest. So, and it looks like the weather should pass over us and hit you, Mom, because it's headed in that direction. It tends to come at us. It's coming up from the south and moving from the west towards the east, and that kind of diagonal going north, going east. So I suspect that what's passing over us will get to you, Mom. Probably tomorrow. But Aunt May, flibberty gibbet. After I get off the live stream, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm doing for art today, since art on the iPad is not going to happen today. I have Rattel illustrations that I'm supposed to be working on. So I guess I will pull up I'll pull out some pens and a sketch pad and see what I do there. Or if I can find my watercolors, I might actually do a little watercolor. But I am not 100% sure where my watercolor paints are. I do know that I was careful when we moved in here to make sure that I had all of my art supplies here at the apartment with me, because I knew that leaving inks and paints in a non-air conditioned unit was going to be a very bad idea. So I was careful to make sure that all of the art supplies came here. but I've tucked them into some oddball places, I think, because I'm not sure. I know where most of my sketchbooks are because I put those in a specific place. The paints, don't know. Sanford has encouraged me for 2022 to do something a little different for my art every day. Instead of it always being an illustration style art, he wants me to consider art to be more broad format than I have. There's been a few times I've posted art kind of joking, saying, well, this food today was my art, because I was too tired to cope with making more art after I had been cooking for some special occasion. And he's encouraging me to actually do food art, but also to consider that perhaps my writing can be my daily art, because I have not been writing the way I should. I've been much more focused on the illustrations and whatnot. And I have covers to do for a friend that I need to get working on, so that's definitely happening tomorrow. Today I frittered away my morning, which I have no regrets about. um, and then our visit was longer than I had intended, so I didn't have as much time to get stuff done today as I should. And tomorrow, well, a big gap of it just dropped away to retrieve the purse, Cedar. Yeah, the photography is going to be a thing because I have really let that lapse. And my friend's daughter and I were showing each other pictures tonight. She was showing me pictures, cute pictures she's taken of her dog and her cat. And I was showing her pictures that I have taken of flowers and bugs and dogs and cats too. But it really got me thinking that I haven't been doing focused art photography for quite a while, and I miss that. So yeah, my art this year in 2022 is going to be more diverse. I'm still going to do art every day, but it's going to be a lot more free form. What it is, I want to start writing every day again, even if it's just a teeny tiny amount. So, which masterclass, Ben? I have classes. I have not like live classes, but I've bought them and I'm supposed to work through them, and I have not. So that's probably a 2022 goal as well, as to the classes I bought in 2021. Let's do those. Excellent, Ben. Anything is a start. There are days when I can manage 5 words, and there's days when I can manage 6 or 7,000 words. Those are few and far between these days. So 2,400 for the year. Hey, it's still progress. It is better than 0. I managed better than 2,400 this year. I didn't track my writing counts this year. I plan to do so for 2022. I had done so in 2020, and I don't remember if I did it in 2019, but I'm going to go back to keeping a spreadsheet and updating, basically doing a quick journal at the end of every night of what I got done. That is good for me in terms of I get to check myself every day in where am I, what am I getting done. I don't do well unless I'm this week much better progress. I mean, 2,400 for the year, okay. 2,400 for the week, awesome. And that's my thing too, is if I'm trying to only track myself once a week, I fall into this bad habit, and I've done this with my odd prompts, of it's due on Wednesday, so I write it on Tuesday. And I can't keep doing that. I need to write consistently daily, and the way my brain works, because this is the woman who set down her purse and walked away. The way my brain works, I have to check in every single day if I'm going to hold myself to consistent forward progress. And that's part of what I do with my art. In posting it on the art groups or on Instagram, that's my daily accountability. And I'm not responsible to my audience. I'm responsible to me. And the way I'm using the audience is that's my little reminder of, did I post today? Did I not post today? There's been times I made art and then didn't get it posted. And there's been, I think, 5 days this year I did not do art for various reasons. Too busy or not feeling well. A couple of days when we were moving where I just had nothing left. Not even to do the simplest little doodle. So we bought street tacos for dinner and elote, which is street corn, and it came with fixings. We stopped at the local taco hut. Actually, that is its name. It's called the Taco Hut. And it came with 2 things of sauce, little plastic things. One was green and one was red. And because I had no idea, I tasted both. And the red sauce, I'm like, okay, that's got some burn. And the green sauce was, well, that was 25 minutes ago, and I can still feel it. The green sauce got some fire. And Johan behind me a minute ago came up and announced to Sanford, who was walking out, that he used the really spicy sauce on his tacos. When we got down here, he was introduced to the concept of the guys like spice up north in the group. And because he has a great deal of respect for them, he decided he needed to learn how to be able to eat spicy food. So he announced, I don't know, we'd been down here maybe a month. He asked me to buy him Tabasco sauce. And I'm like, why? You don't like spicy food. And he said, I want to do spice training and gear myself up. So at this point, I think he has gone a couple of notches above Tabasco sauce, because that green salsa verde had some real bite to it. Koala, you're not late. You're fashionable. Oh, I wish I was cooking for y'all, but it wasn't going to happen tonight. And I'm a little wound up tonight because craziness. And it's very nice to have 3-day weekend. Ah, Josh. Well, I mean, at the stage of children that you and Koala have, napping is important. Far more important than listening to me natter on at the computer. I think the long-term goal for the live cast is to find other people to sit down and natter with. I have some ideas in that direction. But for now, I'm going to probably try to do schedule cooking. Usually Fridays for me are not a big deal because I come home from work, I chill, I eat something, I do the live stream. Today we went, we hung out, and it was fun. I mean, and I got to ride in a sidecar, and we got to hang out with good friends, and I met one of them for the first time tonight, and Sanford was having fun, so we just kind of pushed off our time schedule a little further than we probably should have. So, probably better not to do peppers. I know you've been avoiding the whole solanum family, and that sounds like she was in pain, so best to avoid that. I just realized my mouse pad, it's one of the little like foamy ones, and it's crumbling at the edge. Because yes, I'm fidgeting while I'm talking to you guys because I fidget. And drinking because that way I can keep talking. Um, this mouse pad used to live in a chemistry lab, so it may have been exposed to something. um, that was the lab where I did interesting chemistry, and despite gloves, I'm sure that there were occasionally things on my hands that, eh, I don't know that there were actually, because I was pretty darn careful about not getting concentrated hydrochloric, sulfuric, or nitric acid on me. And if you get nitric acid on you, you will know. Because nitric, while it might not physically burn you, it will leave a mark. Even if you don't get much of it on you, it leaves like a bright yellow to, even if it's bad, yellow brown mark on your skin because of the damage it does to the keratin in your skin cells. So, even if you don't feel the burn from nitric acid, it does damage your skin cells and you will be able to see it. So I know that I was pretty good about not getting it on my hands. I also know that I burned holes in most of the clothing that I wore there, including through the lab coat on more than one occasion, because I had t-shirts that I would wash them and suddenly there would be holes, and that was because I had spattered, probably it could be either a concentrated base or a concentrated acid, because I worked with both at that lab. The current lab I'm in, I occasionally work with concentrated bases, very rarely. Usually what I'm doing in the cosmetic purpose is that I'm diluting sodium hydroxide, which we use to balance pHs in products. So the interesting thing about skin is that skin doesn't actually have a pH. You can't like touch your skin with a pH paper and say that my skin is this pH. Skin has an isoelectric point, and the isoelectric point is equivalent to a pH of approximately 4.75. So therefore you can say that the pH of skin is 4.75, but it's not a one-to-one thing, it's close enough. So the interesting thing that I've learned in my research for this job is that skin products that are slightly more to the alkaline side of the isoelectric point of the skin, those products work really well up until about age 50. After age 50, your skin starts to do some interesting changes as your body starts to age. And at that point, you actually need products that are more acidic than the point of your skin. And those help to maintain and repair the skin barrier. So as you get older, you're more prone to the skin starts to thin out, and you're more prone to have a disrupted barrier, which is the multiple layers of your skin as intended to keep anything from the outside from getting on the inside. Uh, Thank you, Gabe. Clay potatoes sound fun. Not necessarily edible, but... So, if you're dealing with, or you are yourself, getting with aging skin, thinning skin, you're having trouble with skin that is breaking, look for moisturizing lotions that run to pH anywhere from a 3.5 to a 5 is ideal. And there are a couple of brands. The only one I can remember specifically is called Vanacream. And I think one of the Vaseline Intensive Care moisturizers, they run towards the lower end of the pH for moisturizing lotions, so they are better for the older skin. And that's my random cosmetic trivia for the day. I came across that when I was researching something else, and I immediately passed that information on to a friend of mine who's a hospice nurse. because at end of life, skin is really difficult to keep in good repair. And I know that I've known people that were in their 90s that their skin was like tissue paper. And it literally would just, like, you could grip their arm and it would tear their skin. So being able to maintain an intact skin barrier is really, really important as you get very elderly. So, again, random, maybe helpful little bit of information. I don't know that anyone specifically formulates lotions that are intended for that kind of care. Dead purple sweet potatoes are cool. We've used those before. We made a purple sweet potato cake and then made it into a jelly roll with purple frosting because Juliet was into purple, and the Japanese purple sweet potatoes are called ube. And so we had found some of those and mashed them and then made them into a sponge cake, and it actually was very successful. The ones that we had, Mom, tasted a lot like a regular sweet potato, but very, very purple. like the purple of Joshua's icon there, that's the little bright purple J. They're that purple. They're kind of amazing. And they stay that purple when they're cooked, which not everything that's purple stays purple. Purple cauliflower, purple carrots, when you cook those, they aren't purple anymore because of the pigment that's causing the coloration in them breaks down in the heat. So I was kind of surprised that the purple sweet potato stayed purple even when we cooked it. They might taste a little different. I only had a little bit and then we put it in a cake and that tasted a lot different. So there are all kinds of different root vegetables. And I have not been experimenting with those from the Asian market because I'm not sure about taro. I've heard things about taro and I'm not sure I would like it. And I hate to buy something that nobody will eat. And I mean, I can make stuff and Sanford or the boy won't eat it and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll eat it. But if nobody's gonna eat it, I that's wasteful. I don't want to do that. So my next project probably, maybe, is I want to find some preserved lemons. I should make some, but they're very salty and they're very citrusy. My friend got me onto tagines, Moroccan tagines, and I bought a book that she'd recommended, and it has a recipe. Well, we have our own dog to feed, but I'm reluctant to feed her too much of people food. Yeah, chicken owners. I need to find somebody around here that has chickens. I shall bring them scraps and leavings. I want to make my own preserved lemons, but in the meantime, since I had a craving for couscous and lemons and some nice briny olives, I'm going to try and find some at a local market, which led to my friend and I today sitting there and Googling things, and there are a surprising amount of African markets in my general vicinity. Within, say, 30-40 minutes drive, there's probably 10 of them, which I was surprised about. Now, it looks like most of them are tiny, and I might not be able to find Moroccan specialties because they seem to veer heavily towards Ethiopian. There's one South African one, which I'm definitely going to check out, even though that's totally different cuisine. Lime popcorn. You know. Tajin. I get corrected in how to pronounce it. It's a Mexican seasoning, and it's not spicy, but it's bright red, and it's very lime flavored. I'll bet that would be really good on popcorn. I'll have to try that now because I've got some. It is, tahini is really good on watermelon. My Mexican coworker taught me that one, and that's tasty. Yes, and there was something else I was putting it on too that was really, oh, mango. It is excellent on mango. Um, yeah, I'm just bouncing all over the place, and I seem to be sticking to food today. uh, I was gonna try and write this weekend, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Tonight I will do well to do some art. I suppose I could write and call that art. Children brains are amazing. I always had so much fun watching them learn and make connections. Mom, I saw the video about the balcony garden. I'm not sure how much I can get away with on my balcony, and because we're planning to rent a house in May, I'm not gonna get too froggy with my garden here. Which probably means I won't really garden this year, but then if we rent the house for a few years, I will have to figure that out. But a house should be a lot easier to have more plants at. Not that my husband wants to hear me say that.
No more plants.
He says no more plants. Well, that should be fun, Dad. Yes, yes, tubs, Ben, is definitely the way to go if you're renting and you're trying to garden. I have a couple of fairly large pots, and I had herbs. Well, of course Aaron has early bedtime. He's small still, although not as small as he was. He's growing quickly. I want to be able to grow my own herbs, and I don't necessarily know that I want to be able to grow much in the way of veggies, really, because that requires me to pay more attention and do things like watering them. There's a reason most of my garden right now is succulents or drought resistant. I'm actually surprised my my big orchid, my Miltonopsis, has thrown a bloom. It's still in bud, and it will probably be in bud for another week or two. It can take up to a month before the orchid buds actually open. But that thing was outside all this summer, and it got watered, but not as regularly as it ought to have. And it thrived. I mean, it really was a happy orchid. It has sent up a whole new pseudo bulb, and it really grew this year. I was very pleased. I lost, when we were moving, Miltonopsis. So there are different subspecies of orchid. This one is also sometimes known as the pansy orchid because its flowers look a little bit like pansies. Or sometimes it's called dancing lady because the lower petal of the orchid looks like a frilly skirt, and then the upper part looks a little bit like a woman's body, so it looks like a little dancing lady. And so, yes, Milton, and then the last is Opsis, so Miltonopsis. Yes, my son set the chat up to slow mode, so if it seems like I'm responding oddly, that's why. I don't know how to change it. And before the next live stream, I will have him fix it. I don't know why he set that up. Chicklet does stuff that I don't understand sometimes. And it tells me it's on slow mode, but it doesn't tell me how to get it out of slow mode. So, sorry guys, you're on a lag. I think it's a 5-second delay. Yes, there will be orchid pics when it blooms. I lost during the move. We had a heavy frost. Yeah, that might actually be it. We had a heavy frost rather unexpectedly during the move because it was mid-April. So I thought we were past frost date, and we were in Missouri. I didn't even think about it. We stopped for a night at a hotel, and I left the plants in the back of the big moving truck. and lost 2 orchids and frost damaged 3 others. And then I lost an orchid. No, slow mode limits the amount of comments that can be made. You can only make a comment once every 5 seconds, I think, or 5 seconds. I will have it shut off before next live stream. So I lost an orchid recently, my little Oncidium, to some kind of fungal thing. It just kind of went mushy and rotted. Poor baby. And I have not yet figured out where to buy orchids here in the Dallas area, although I'm sure if I looked that I would be able to find an orchid seller and probably some really interesting orchids, because this is not the same as Ohio. There are hardy orchids. Okay, so there are hardy orchids. Orchids grow on every continent except for Antarctica. I have actually seen orchids in Alaska. Alaskan orchids are not the big showy collectible types that people seek out and grow and show off at flower shows, which is where I've bought all my recent orchids, with the exception of the 2 Phalaenopsis my son got me at Lowe's. But I bought them at an orchid show in Ohio. Yes, Dad, that is definitely what I'm going to plan on doing, as a seep system for watering. You can get... well, there's lady slippers, but there's also the pelargoniums. I think it's pelargonium. They're the little spiral orchids. They're tiny, so inconspicuous that you can very easily miss them or even mistake them for grass. Yes, Josh, there are. And there are orchids that grow here in Texas. One of the things I would be interested in doing is getting out into some of the swamps in Louisiana to see if I couldn't find... There's supposed to be some really interesting orchids that grow there. But that's unlikely to happen because, well, I'm not going to have that much time. There's so many places I want to go, so many plants. I was surprised at how many things were blooming and creeping and crawling yesterday when I was out for a walk here in Texas. I mean, we're supposed to get a cold snap now and actually have some frost and some ice. But it was mid-70s, and I was chasing butterflies. It was so nice. And there were a bunch of things blooming, including a fun little plant that has the really cool common name of crow poison. And I don't know why it's called crow poison. While I was setting up my blog post today, I was looking up the scientific names of things, and in some case doing a pure identification of what I didn't know. And crow poison was one of those. It's also known as false garlic because it's in the onion family, and it looks a little bit like wild garlic, maybe if you squint funny. The leaves aren't right. Wild garlic has a broad ribbony leaf, and crow poison has a narrow leaf, almost like a crocus, so more grassy. And in matter of fact, when I was labeling photos before I did the identification, I called them grass lilies because they were a lily and they were grassy. But I'm going to have to find out why they're called crow poison. I don't know. They might be toxic. Some of the allium family are, death camas being the most famous of those. These do not look like death camas, but the other name for them being false garlic is because they don't smell oniony if you bruise the leaf. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ben's is an MHA fan. I think most of us in this group, well, Mom probably doesn't know much about MHI. Mom, you can read MHI. There's nothing bad in there. Larry's Mormon and very conscious of not writing anything too much untoward. Fruit salad, koala. Does it have tomatoes in it? Tomatoes are a fruit. Hoon. I saw the plushy Wendels are starting to show up. I regret not having enough money to purchase a plushy Wendell when they were on order. Ooh, false garlic. Like garlic cloves. Yeah, Larry's a very good writer. I enjoy his stuff. It's not in KU, Mom. If you want, let me know. I will loan you. I have, I think, all of them. Cactus and coconut. Ooh, that sounds like a really interesting combination for fruit salad. Cactus fruit are good. Coconut, Shaved dried coconut? Or fresh coconut? Pondering questions. When we went to the supermercado, one of the things that they had, and I almost bought some, because, so, I have this really cool childhood memory. My dad spent his high school years in Hawaii. His dad was stationed at Pearl Harbor. And yes, the first MHI book is free from the Bain Free Library. So Dad spent 4 years in Hawaii and spent a lot of time running around the island and being Dad, and being a teenage boy, eating random stuff. So one of the things I remember vividly when I was small is anytime we were in a store and they had sugar cane, Dad would buy a stalk of sugar cane and taught us kids how to chew on sugar cane. So when we were at the supermercado, I looked over and they had sugar canes, these lovely big fresh chunks. And some of the sugar canes that my dad bought for us when we were little were not fresh. Oh, look, we have attracted a troll. I think I can make that troll go away. Maybe, maybe not. I have the 3 dots, but the 3 dots don't seem to do anything. Oh well, we will ignore the troll and not click on the troll's link. I mean, this troll isn't even trying. I don't think any of us read the Cyrillic alphabet well enough to interpret that one. So I have eaten some sugar cane that was definitely not fresh. So the fresh sugar canes looked really attractive. And the only reason I didn't is because they were like 4 feet long, and I want like 2 inches. Just for nostalgia's sake. I don't know what I would do with 4 feet of sugar cane.
I have some very non-PC suggestions.
Yes, my husband is going to make suggestions over here, which I'm going to suggest that he waits until I'm not on live stream. Because he said non-PC, and I'm like, oh dear. I wonder, no, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, I wonder if you could spit something on sugarcane and if it would be any good that way. Probably not, because they aren't particularly sturdy, so it would be bendy. So that's not a good thing when you are going to well, that's interesting. It'll let me toggle over and see the participants. Yes, you missed the troll. Yeah, well, I mean, ooh, black bamboo. I don't know if I like jackfruit. I have never tried jackfruit. My friend Kevin has offered to go splitsies with me on a jackfruit because they're huge. But he also warned me that so I'm using OBS live stream. I'm not directly on YouTube to do the live stream, which I think is why I can't delete the troll. I will see what I can do with it because I have the 3 dots, but they're not doing anything. So all it does is make my chat go weird here. Huh. Interesting. Weird. I don't know. I'm learning these things. Mom, I think you're right about the scorched sugar coming out of the sugar cane. Jackfruit has special cleaning necessities from what I've told. The sap does not come off easily unless you have oiled things well. I am not allergic to mulberries. I quite enjoy mulberries. Was delighted to find out that they grow down here in Texas. Mulberries are somewhat bland. Um, yeah, so Koala, let's not have you eating jackfruit or coming anywhere near jackfruit. Um, Mulberries are a bit bland, but they're really good if you mix them with blackberries, and since they usually come into fruit about the same time blackberries do, that's convenient. Also, black raspberries around that same time. I don't know about here in Texas. Um, One of my friends has a white mulberry tree in her backyard. The red mulberries are native. White mulberries are a Chinese import. Not that it makes a huge difference. They're both messy. I'd like to have one. My husband would not like to have one because if you have a mulberry tree, the birds will feast heartily on the mulberries and then perch over the closest thing to your car and leave your car decorated with bright purple bird poop. Speaking of bright purple, purple seems to be the theme of this particular chat today. Yeah, no, definitely more flavor when dried. And mulberries are very persistent. They sucker readily, so even if you cut down the main trunk, what you'll wind up with is a thicket of mulberries. And they seed readily, so they come in from seeds and they actually grow fairly quickly. Coming to fruit, I think, from seed in 3 to 4 years, which is very quickly for any kind of fruiting tree. So if you want a food tree, mulberry is great. Yeah, juniper has some volatile compounds that are terpenes. I was trying to think of the word. I'm like, I'm a chemist. I need to know these words. No, juniper has terpenes in it, which is also part of what makes gin, the beverage, so interesting. And sometimes bad gin tastes like you're drinking gasoline because terpenes, which are a solvent, and yes, it will take the paint off your car. Hi, Julie. So for the latecomers, there was supposed to be Russian black bread. Amazon flubbed the rye flour delivery, so the Russian black bread will happen tomorrow, not on live stream. I will still at least blog my recipe because I don't think I've ever blogged my Russian black bread recipe. I haven't even made it for several years, but I had a craving, so yeah, no, mulberries are one of those fruit plants that if you could figure out a way to keep the birds off of them, then they're great. The problem with mulberries as a commercial crop, which is changing, by the way, because I have noted that there are several products now that offer dried mulberries in them. And I think the reason that they're going with dried is the reason that they don't make a good fresh commercial crop. Mulberries ripen staggered. So instead of everything on the tree ripening at once, which makes for much easier harvesting, mulberries ripen progressively, which if you are harvesting for home is actually a good thing. Because you aren't overwhelmed with the harvest all at once. It's a much more manageable way. And I know there's a lot of hate for mulberries out there, and I get it. I really do. But if you're in a situation where you need to grow fruit trees, mulberries beat out everything else because they grow so fast and they fruit so quickly. And yes, because of the allergies, Joshua, fruiting mulberry there would be a very bad idea. It's actually an interesting allergy. I had not heard of that one before. And I can see the relationship becoming a major issue. The other thing that I thought was interesting at the supermercado, and I was so tempted, is they had crab apples at $1 a pound. And crab apples make superior apple jelly. I mean, bar none. Crab apple jelly is the best way to make apple jelly. So I was so tempted to buy a couple pounds of crab apples and make some jelly, but I have enough going on this weekend. And I don't have enough freezer room. Okay, so here's the thing about making jelly. Jelly is best made from frozen fruit because freezing it lyses the cells, it breaks them open, and releases more juice. So if you're going to make jelly, toss whatever you're going to make jelly out of into the freezer first, and then whenever you get around to it, which might be months after harvest season, you pull your fruit out of the freezer and proceed to make jelly, but you'll actually get more juice release from the frozens than you would if you were working just straight from fresh. So jelly is fantastic for using things like apple peels and scraps and bits and pieces. And because you're not looking at the fruit, you're going to run it through a straining cloth. So I have done apple peel jelly. I've done, when I've gotten a big bushel of peaches, I have reserved like peach skins and trimmings of peaches that were a bit bruised, not rotten, but just like you didn't want them in with the canned peaches. And you toss all those into a bowl by themselves, and then you can use that to make peach jelly. It's really, really good. And but crab apples are the bomb, so I'm kind of tickled to know that I can get them around here. I'm sure they're seasonal, but at 99 cents a pound, that's not bad. And a couple of pounds will make a batch jelly. Mormon tea is a plant, isn't it? I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it. Um, but that's probably another chat. Um, Wait, mesquite has fruit? No, mesquite has pods. Okay, somebody's gonna have to explain Mormon tea to me. So, we're coming up on an hour. Oh, yes. No, we don't want. Ooh, that doesn't even sound appetizing. It smells like beer when it's burned, and it's a natural ephedra. No Mormon tea. Right. Got it. Mom, I suspect they don't get enough liquid to do peaches. I'm actually curious about like service berries or. Yes, mesquite beans are edible. I think. I don't know if it's related to locust, but honey locust beans are edible, so it doesn't surprise me that mesquite beans are. Ooh, I need to collect some mesquite beans and do something fun with them. Rabbit trails. So many rabbit trails. Ephedra is a natural stimulant, Ben. So they used to put ephedra in diet pills to speed up your metabolism, and in theory, you'd lose weight. Um, There are specific kinds of apples that would probably grow in Josh and Koala's area that have been bred to need a shorter cold span. But most apples require, I think they're related. Josh, honey locust, and mesquite. Ugh, can't even talk. Most apples require a certain amount of cold or they won't bloom. Um, Cookies don't grow on trees, koala. Yeah, I've been told poppy seeds will make you pop hot on drug tests too, so let's not and say we didn't. Huh. Growing carob. I could make my own chocolate. Yes, and making window boxes out of cedar fence boards would lend you some nice durable window boxes. Um, that's probably a good idea. We'll see what we wind up with. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some other substances that you would consume that could make you pop up on a drug test in unpleasant ways. Um, it's not something I currently. It's not something I'm currently worried about. I'm trying to remember if I even had to do a drug test for this employer. Huh. Probably. It's pretty standard these days. Oh, Mom, I'm glad you've switched over to the smartphone. You have to start taking pictures with it. Gypsum, Joshua. Oh, Jimson weed. Yeah, but nobody in their right mind consumes Jimson weed on purpose. That stuff's nasty. I thought you were talking about your soil and gypsum, and that made sense. But Jimson weed, no. Jimson weed is related to datura. It is a powerful hallucinogenic. It is extremely unpleasant. I have not consumed it myself, but I have read case studies of poisonings. And yeah, no, that's not something you want to do on purpose. I'm sure there are people that do because they don't know any better. But there are also a lot of people that are on the far side of the intelligence bell curve. Ooh. All right, folks. I have taken up an hour and I have got other things to do. And Joshua, that doesn't surprise me at all. So y'all be safe. Nobody be consuming any Jimson weed out there. And I will return next week with something on the cutting board. I don't know what yet. We'll have to we'll have to figure that out over the week. I don't set up my topics far in advance because, well, Dad, word of warning on prickly pear. It's slightly invasive. Happy New Year, y'all.